Can you hear me, Peggy?
Now I can. Thank you very much.
There you go. All right. I'm sorry, I had us muted, Mayor. So Peggy, she just, no, you're fine. You're fine.
That's
She's
fine.
she's just asked you to kind of describe your event and your requests.
Oh, are we to that stage now?
Yeah, I
Okay.
apologize.
That's fine. That's fine. The event we had in 2019 for the first time. It is it's a fundraiser for the Marshfield Webster County Route 66 Initiative Incorporated. And our purpose is to help fund and help the city on the new Route 66 park to keep the history alive and try to bring more attention to Marshfield, because all the European people and the bikers and everything just fly by Marshfield on Route 66 and don't really spend any money here. So that's our main cause. And then we also give to children's. The last time we gave to backpack information, but it is a multifunctional festival. We'll be having a car show on the west side of the square of cars older than 30 years. On the south side of the square will be a national barbecue sanctioned cook-off. And then on the east side are the vendors for hopefully different types of food. Then on the north side is a carryover of what we need. Also on the east side, on the square, on the steps of the courthouse will be the bands. And we've got, I don't have it in front of me, I don't have all the names of the bands. We've got 5 bands. First one I can't think of. Then Randy, the Ozark Travelers, then Papa Green Shoes, and the Dirty Saints. And then the final band is Poison Overload. They're out of Kansas City. So that is sort of in a nutshell. The first time we had it, there were so many more people coming than we expected. It sort of overwhelmed us. We ran out of food and everything. Last year, we couldn't have it because of COVID. This year, finally, the suppliers are sort of catching up because of the COVID, because they couldn't get any help. So they couldn't get the beef butchered and everything. But in a nutshell, that's what that is. And we're a nonprofit organization.
Board of
Does that help?
Alderman. Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay.
Do you have any questions for Peggy on the event? Okay. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Well, I do have a question. Though, there is a church on that corner of the square, and I do think they meet on Saturday, don't they?
I don't think that church
This
is
is
there
church.
anymore.
The city church
I don't think it's there anymore.
in Smokey J's building.
Is there a church in Smoky J's?
There was.
Wesley had one.
I think that property sold.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, I understand that property sold.
Gotcha.
I don't know who it sold to.
I didn't know there was a
Okay.
church.
You know who it is.
Wesley.
It's not a church?
Wesley Mackey had the.
Okay.
preacher
Okay.
That supposedly bought it. I don't know.
Wes Maggie did?
Mhm.
Okay, so
That's
that's,
I heard.
What'd you say?
Wesley Mackey. Wes. It was supposedly his church was going to go in there. He had one out by Walmart.
Yeah, this is somebody, they're originally from Marshfield, but they don't live here right now. I can't think of his name right off.
Is it going back in as a church?
No, he had some questions on some apartments in it or something like that.
Something like a loft function.
Right. Toward the
Okay.
back of the business. That's all the details he gave me at this time. He's inquiring.
good enough.
Does that answer the question? Okay. So I do have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
All right.
All right. Thank you.
May I address the mayor?
Yes, you may.
Okay. Also, while I've got your attention, we need volunteers. I've got one alderman that is volunteering, helping with my husband on the waste management, which, and then if anyone on your board would love to volunteer, we would love to have you as representation for all of the different districts.
Okay. We appreciate that offer and we'll reach back out to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
All right, next item on the new business agenda that we move forward is the approval of whole kitchen liquor license. So this falls under section 600.035 of our city code, which reads, no license shall be granted for the sale of intoxicating liquor as defined in this chapter within 300 feet of any school, church, or other building regularly used as a place of religious worship, unless the applicant for the license shall first obtain consent in writing of the Board of Alderman, except that when a school, church, or place of worship shall herein be established within 300 feet of any place. Boy, this really reads funny, doesn't it? Of any place of business licensed to sell intoxicating liquor, the license shall not be denied for this reason. Such consent shall not be granted unless at least 10 days written notice has been provided to all owners of property within 300 feet of the proposed licensed premises. So our city staff have taken that portion of the code, that last sentence, I probably should have just read that. And our business owner paid to have a notice put out, and we did receive correspondence from a property owner, which is included in your packet. So I will ask our business owner, who is here, to first address the board and explain what you are asking for. And then I will go through the board in order for comments or questions. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, we're just asking, not for a liquor license, it's for a beer and wine. So
Which we realize is under the same,
umbrella, but just to
but it
clarify,
is light beer and light wine.
yeah,
Um,
no full bar. That's not our main focus at all. We want to be a family-oriented restaurant.
Health is our first mission, I guess. Yeah, we serve health food, whole, as organic as we can. But we do want to offer a chance for, like she said, family-oriented activities. We would like to have live music. We're gonna have like outdoor yard games on like Saturday, on weekends. Nothing, our hours through the week are, we will close at 8 p.m. And we are not going to, if it passes, we won't start serving until after 4:30. And we even talked about even doing possibly like a 2 or 3 drink maximum if it were to pass. So yeah, I don't.
Okay. So I will open this up to the board. Alderman Quinn, do you have any questions?
Well, there are some concerns with the traffic with the, I was talking with another alderman and we were talking about events that the school has
Mhm.
and how that would cause a lot of traffic through that same area. I personally would like to see us kind of put together our concerns and give that back to them and let them try to address that and maybe make a decision the next time we come back. Would that
Okay.
be fair?
So one of your concerns would be traffic.
One of them would be the traffic, the kid traffic.
Okay, any other concerns?
Well, in the reading of the ordinance, it does say intoxicating liquor. Is there a definition, a legal definition?
There is. Alcohol or beverages purposes, including alcoholic, spirituous, wine, let's just go with that. Fermented malt or other liquors or combination of liquors, a part of which is spiritus, vinous, or fermented, and all preparations or mixtures for beverage purposes containing in excess of 1/2 of 1% by volume. all beverages having an alcoholic content of less than 1/2 of 1% by volume shall be exempt from the provisions.
And some of the traffic problems could be maybe closing off one of the driveways so that the traffic coming from your guys' place isn't going out into the traffic from the school. I don't, if there is an evening event, I don't know. I just like to see them get a chance to kind of address the problems that we have.
Alderman Boggs.
I would share most of the same concerns with John. That is, in my mind, one of the worst intersections that we have in town, just especially with the number of young kids that you have go through there. I like the fact of like, I hate to have constraints on any business just trying to find their way through that, but you have so many young kids that are inexperienced, and then you with a really a terrible intersection, which I know we want to fix in the future, but and there are, I mean, like if Friday night basketball games or Friday night, like, the band plays, you got potentially 1,000 people coming out of there, especially like a basketball game on the boys. So those are my main concerns. I don't know a solution that I think would be a good idea at the current time. And I think that's maybe what John's saying. Maybe you got, Yeah.
Even like the 2-drink maximum where it's,
the only thing like I think about that is, like, if I'm not mistaken, and Doug could probably tell more of this, but I think it takes the average male 2 hours to digest half of a beer. But it, like, say, average male, like 180 pounds, is that, or maybe that's something we can look into, but I from what I think I might know, I think the average male takes about 2 hours. So that would just be, if they had 2 drinks, they would definitely be over the legal limit. And then if something happens, then we have a city to basically, explain why we thought it was a good idea. And so that's my concern.
Alderman Cunningham.
Well, I think the traffic situation is the biggest concern with the the nights, the schools have something, I think. And even the church has, if they had something. That'd be the biggest concern of mine.
Alderman Lee.
Am I correct? The Methodist Church does own the Ark building,
Yes.
correct?
Yes, they do.
And how close is that?
We're close.
Cross the street.
Sam, I was going to point at Rick, but he's not here.
Wise,
I can pull it up. I don't know.
because we measure from where to where.
Property line, property line.
Because your youngest, most inexperienced drivers are going through there. I mean, 4:30 doesn't shut the high school off by any means. You got kids coming from football practice, basketball practice, soccer practice. That is a constant of the youngest drivers in the town.
Well, and we've even identified this is the intersection
As
that
an
we had
issue
the TAP
already.
grant done, the study done. And we've reached out to the school on this particular traffic concern.
Sorry.
Okay,
So this doesn't have the property lines on it, obviously, because the county GIS map is way more difficult to maneuver on a laptop, but see if I can, I'll just show you. Here's their property right here. So if you pull from here to here, which is their property, 75 feet, give or take, after you get out of the right of way, so 85, 90 feet at the maximum.
Same with the school too, right?
The
owns that
school,
road.
no, because I think the ARC, if I pulled up the other map, I think the ARC actually owns back to here. Well, actually, I think they actually own back into
I
here.
thought that, well, they do, but I thought they had, the school had the road.
They do have the road, that's
So,
true, but
school.
the city limits line is like right in here too, so I'm not exactly sure. That it would be city road for a little ways. Well, no, it's a private drive, you're right, so it'd actually be right there.
So how far to school property?
Same.
The road, yeah, I mean, you'd have to restart the measure, so, because it goes from property line or the shortest point. So, Casey, I'm assuming your property line's somewhere just beyond your gravel.
Shows it right in the middle of that yard, the grass.
Yeah. so 70 feet-ish. 70, 80 feet. Because that right, or that ditch will be our right of way.
Yeah.
I'd love to see you be successful, but that's awfully close for me. Too close.
And this, I mean, I know this isn't the direction you guys are necessarily looking at, but like, I mean, there's a lot of kids that go through there, and there's a lot of these kids that like MOBAs, and I don't know. I don't know what some of those drinks are, but I know that they, my kids constantly want those types of things, and that might be as successful of a venture because there is so much school traffic, and those kids pester parents for money. I don't know.
Yeah, not really the direction we're going
I
in
know.
business wise, like we wanted to bring.
Yeah.
Something fun to the community. but
Right.
I appreciate that.
Okay, so are we asking the business owners to look at traffic concerns and come back to the board? And is the board, I mean, I want to make sure that if they do the work and come back, that
It,
we're open to this.
I would be open to a solution. I mean, I really thought a lot about it. I don't know how that would, I
if we
don't,
were able to figure out a way to maybe go through the backside, and not use that four-way. We've got the property that, it used to be Bell Tower, it was a playground, but that maybe we could take some of that fence line and make a road that goes back behind the fence and out so that we're not using the
Out on
four-way.
Jackson versus.
Can you bring that map up again, Sam?
So is the 300 feet where the drive is or where the,
Goes shortest point, shortest point.
yeah, but if they move their drive, does that,
No, it doesn't
it
change
does
anything.
not negate?
No, it goes
Not the
prop-
300 feet. It
prop-
doesn't change that.
So the 300 feet does not prohibit them from doing that. That's why they're here. It just says that they can't go forward without your guys giving consent. So it doesn't prohibit them from doing it, but that's an extra step that they have to go through that they wouldn't have to if they weren't within 300 feet of a church or a school. So it's basically saying that they have to come get your permission because they're within 300 feet before they can even go forward with it.
I would still be okay with like looking at that. I don't know if I'd be comfortable with it, but I mean, I'd just give you guys time to think about it and think if there's a solution and give us time to think about the repercussions if something does go wrong, because it does involve the youngest, most inexperienced drivers that this town has. And that would be for sure my main concern, because I have
Okay. And that's what I wanted to confirm is Stacy's bringing up a completely different concern than the other three that I've heard. So I'm hearing 3 for traffic, but 1 because of school and church.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that if the property owners do work, that that it really is open for consideration.
If the liquor license was granted
Mhm.
and the property was sold, does that liquor license open up any venues
No,
for the next, or is it a clean slate taking over?
No, if
No.
they own the business.
no, now that's not to say that somebody opens up a building in the back of, pick a church on another road, right? That we don't set a precedent.
That's what I'm also concerned about.
That is true. I mean,
Because that's the closest that you could almost get a building to the, and I mean,
Yeah.
they set those guidelines for a
Right.
reason at some point. That's,
so if they were on the other side of the tracks from the 2 churches that are up here, can't think of the names. Both of those would be within
Oh, on
300 feet.
Jackson.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
As long as you guys are, and I know you are, but as long as you guys are clear that this isn't a request for them to put a business there. It's just for that. I mean, that they're able to do that anyway.
Right.
Right.
This is just, they're just asking for permission. And what's before you tonight is just for permission to sell alcohol.
I want to let you know, I've had several phone calls from the church people and none of them for it. So I just want to let you know that. We got a letter from the church, but I've had several phone calls too. So
And
I
if we,
want to know where they're at.
We received.
if this was to be approved, then how do we enforce the non-erosion of the time constraints and how is that accomplished?
I got something else that goes along with that. If the business was sold, does that liquor license go with that?
No,
If that's, okay,
No,
so that wouldn't go at least, but there is nothing, or
it's a trust factor. There is no enforcement on how many drinks are you really selling or time. No. Once you have a liquor license, you can operate within the allowability of the code.
Doug, is it enforceable? Let's say this all went through and you pick somebody up. They're drunk. Where you been? I've been at the whole kitchen. How many drinks did you have? 6. If they agree to a 2-drink minimum. I don't know if that's even enforceable,
Maximum.
legal, whatever.
It's not enforceable.
So then if you pick somebody up, they've been there. Who's responsible? I mean, I know they are for their actions, but are they responsible?
You know, the city would not be responsible. They would be responsible. But we can't enforce that. They said they had a 2-drink minimum and someone said I had 6. We can't enforce that on them. Like
Yeah.
the mayor was saying, they can actually serve, they're supposed to only serve people that are not intoxicated, but we cannot enforce that on them if they did serve more than 2. And if they did serve someone and they did not appear to be impaired and they went out and got into an accident, the city would not be liable. They might be able to be sued, obviously, but you would have to prove that they served an intoxicated person. So,
Yeah.
But the bottom line is the city would not be liable. That would be the person that would be exempt pretty quick.
All right, any other comments for our business owners?
Can you show me where your other option for the drive is?
So to the left of the building that you see up there, it would be between where you see that red roof and the white roof,
In here, is this where you're talking
and
about?
right through there, yeah.
Oh, and then it
Which
come
looks
out on the
small there, but
backside.
we have that, I mean, we have back,
It's wide enough to drive through there.
yeah.
And then come out on Jackson.
I'll be honest with you, I really do like the idea of having more options in Marshfield, and I'd love to see that. I really just think that, I really think the location for the kids is, I mean, I really think if something ever happened, that we would just look really bad for passing that. With just that intersection is really bad and all that. That's my big concern.
That's pretty much where I'm at.
All right, any
'Cause when
other,
they come out on, there's nothing to keep them from hanging a right and going right back into that traffic.
okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, and for regular procession, do I have a motion? Okay, this particular issue will die without a motion. If you would like to try to address the alderman's concerns and come back, you are of course more than welcome to do that. But you've kind of heard the conversation. If you have any other questions on that, also feel free to reach out. City staff can help. Okay, thank you very much. And item 3 and 4 on your new business agenda are the Grow Marshfield contract preservation. And we have Mr. John Fogelsong with us today, who is the chairman of the board of directors for Grow Marshfield. And while this has been said once, it will be said again at the guidance of our attorney. Myself and Sam sit on this board. That's part of the reason that John has graced us with his presence today, so that he can talk about all the directives. But for the rest of this, I will moderate order only. Okay? Thank you, John.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As you said, I'm John Fogelsong, and I wear 2 hats. I am not only chairman of, of Grow Marshfield, but I'm president of the Marshfield Development League, and we're going to talk about both. I'm one of these weird people. I like to look at census data, and I'm sure you all have more to do than that. But the latest census data came out, and the 2020 census, and Marshfield has grown 13% since 2010 and 2020. The county has grown 9%. If you will look around at, and if you get bored sometime, you want to go to Census Quick Facts. I'm sure you won't, but get bored. But if you'll not see another city in the area other than in Christian County that has grown like Marshfield has. And what we want is grow, is to see that Marshfield will continue to grow in the right direction with the right jobs, the right community amenities, so that our children and our grandchildren will want to live here, can have jobs. And I want to thank the city for partnering with MDL as the financial partners on the Grow Board. We brought in other community partners. Marshfield Chamber of Commerce is one, the Marshfield Area Community Foundation, and the Marshfield School District. And Dwayne spoke earlier about the school district wanting to visit with our local industries and see what they need, their graduates to, the skills they want their graduates to be able to fit in their businesses. One of the things we want to do is to create an organization structure to implement an economic development program for our community. And this is something that we've come up with, and I will read this to you. It's a Marshfield Regional Economic Development Growth Strategy. It's plan and develop Marshfield growth areas, continue to add industrial sites for new company attractions, partner with the city and county to analyze and develop infrastructure, transportation, and utilities, electric, water, sewer, natural gas, and telecommunications. Plan, develop, and implement programs that enhance the workforce, housing, community development, and quality of place programs. Access economic development financial tools available to assist Marshfield with achieving goals. That means get money. That's simple. Put together an overall economic development message and marketing program. Continue to develop community leadership, working together to educate the public, showcase assets, accelerate momentum, and increase local enthusiasm leads to new business growth and residential development. And speaking of residential development, the community is low on, it has no places for houses. I'm off script now, but one thing that we have worked with the city, you know, the city has has put together a sewer plan. And the Marshfield Development League, which is part of Grow, we contributed, we paid $30,000 for that portion of it outside of the city limits, so that as we expand, we'll know where we can get city, where we can get sewer, and as you know, water, electricity, everything else is easy to get to, but sewer has to go downhill. The Marshfield Development League has approved we've approved and signed a 3-year contract to fund Grow for the next 3 years at the level of $100,000 a year. And what we're doing, we're asking the city to do the same thing. We appreciate that you funded this at the level of $100,000. But it's an important part of our budget, and we'd like to ask you to continue to do that and to also join in a contract exactly like the MDL has. And we will Grow will itself will report to you annually, and of course Dwayne's here monthly. So you have contact with us. And so if any of you at any time have any questions, you can always contact Dwayne or myself. You have any questions about our request for you to enter in a contract
My main question would be, if we could figure out how to have what the city's payback is. Just like MDLs, as far as like what you're getting for your money, just so that we can make sure, like when people ask us, like, well, you guys, okay, this money, I mean, how can you prove like what you're getting back for the city for it? Because I don't know if do you guys already have that now, or do we get that? Do you guys provide or like
What your return on your investment is?
right, like what projects we got through, like what,
Dwayne can, I'll let Dwayne respond to that. But by the way, that we grow does not look at this. This is not an expense for the MDL, excuse me. It's not an expense for the MDL, and it's not an expense for the city. It's an investment. But Dwayne will.
The answer is yes, and we Grow executed a contract with Crawford Murphy Kelly, CMT. They have an economic development department, and we didn't do it with the two projects that we did in 2020 because we weren't at that point. But right now they have an economic impact statement formula that they use that we will use whenever it's necessary. Whether I can go back to do the other ones or not, I do not know, but the answer is we can get you the answers. We got this project, hopefully it's going to open up in November. We can take the capital investment, we can take the jobs, we plug it into a formula, and we'll be able to tell you what the economic impact is going to be. So yes.
Yeah, that's
I know you'll run into those questions when you get out there.
If we get projects, yes, for sure. So.
And we've also acquired, what is it? Is it 120? The title guy, I don't know, is it 120 or 158? Under option.
Under 148.
100, yeah. Right. So that we didn't have before. So that we get requests from industry, and that it hits my computer also as it hits Dwayne. We get probably 3 or 4 a month, most of which don't fit, or many don't fit. And I'm not to say we're the only ones that gets it. There's 99 other people, maybe at the least, that get those. Some of them focus on us and some of them don't. But before we had Dwayne in this, there's no place to put an industry. Now we have the Van Diglen Condra property. And we would like to get sewer and water and infrastructure to the new overpass, because as you travel down the road, you see a lot of distribution centers. Where would it be a better place to have a distribution center on Interstate 44 than the new overpass? Those are some of the investments that and of course, those would be good jobs. Those would be tax dollars. We tax businesses well. That'd be more money for the school system. So that's some of the return that you'll get on your investment for this.
Which is, I think, like you say, it's important for us to figure out how to get sewer out there, because without sewer out there, we're kind of tied a little bit as far as what we can actually offer for, to compete in that marketplace.
And hopefully with this $1 trillion they keep talking about, many $1 trillion, we may get some funding. And Dwayne I don't know that anybody knows, but maybe we can get some funding for sewer. We've already put together a sewer plan. Well, the city has, and the MDL has paid for that part of it, but
the sewer capacity study allowed Sam and I to respond to an RFI. We didn't submit, but we were able to come up with an answer within a couple hours. Right. Whereas before my answer was, I don't know. And so the sewer capacity study is super. And getting back to my conversation with the governor's chief of staff, I told her what we had just done. She goes, "You're already ahead of the game," because they're going to be looking for communities. Now, I said that now these monies are not going to be able to be used on existing systems. It is going to be extensions to new sites. That's what the 400 million is supposed to be. Now, it could change, of course, I know, but anyway, but it just, when I told her about the sewer capacity study in our 3 growth areas, it falls right into line with that, you know, so down the road. And these are the type of things that, you know, we're gonna be able to take advantage of. And there's 300 and that can get, I'll tap, I mean, John is spot on about the 320 acres out there that, that property owner, you know, I did work with him for about a year or so to get an option and he chose to list it with a commercial realtor, which is right. But he has always said that he wants to see business, commercial and industrial development out there. So you've got a landowner that's open to it. It's a great location and we've now got the sewer capacity study, the sewer plans, the options, the alternatives there that we can lay out to a prospect that says, here you are. So those advances, you know, this community has made those advances in the last couple of years.
That 320 acres just past the overpass.
Yes.
the new one?
Yep. But like I said, but you got to get water and sewer.
Yeah.
There. And so.
You know, before this, we had the Marshfield Development League, which I've been a part of before I had gray hair. And that was a long time ago. But the Marshfield Development League was a bunch of interested business people, but we were amateurs and we didn't know what we were doing. And now we've got Grow and we've hired a professional that's had 30, 40 years experience.
30, please. So.
30 years experience and we're moving in the right direction. And this is definitely an investment in the community. And we're also, we're going to grow and we all know that, but we want to grow the right way. We want to get good housing, good jobs. I sit at my desk at D.D. Hamilton Title and I look over at Show Me and I see where they've added on to the building. And I bet you a lot of those people commute to Springfield. It'd be nice to have housing here so that they decide to move to Marshfield. And that's all some of the thing and you know, and make sure it's not just industry, but so that we have parks and all the amenities. We've got made a big move with the pool and but all the other amenities were high-paying people with high-paying jobs who pay taxes, have kids in the schools, move into our community. Anyway.
Alderman
Any other-
Boggs, did you have any other questions or comments? Excuse me.
I think that's my main thing, just like,
Okay.
I'd like to have like some sort of performance type, yeah.
Economic, yep.
Okay.
Those things are out there and we're going to start taking advantage of them now that we've got that contract. So.
Alderman Quinn.
So this service agreement, is this an update of an old one or just a brand new? service
Actually, to
agreement?
my knowledge, we did not have a contract before.
Okay, so, and this is what obligates the $100,000 a year. Okay, so we were doing that kind of without one before. Okay.
Yep, that has been reviewed by Paul.
Gotcha. Okay. So that's it.
Thank you.
Alderman Lee.
I'm very much in the same boat as Robbie. You say investment, I say expense. And maybe it's somewhere in the middle there. If I'm going to take tax money to the tune of $600,000, I have got to see hard facts that I could look a citizen in the face and say, this is what I got for your 600,000. I have to be able to do that in good conscience to spend another $300,000. I just have to be able to do that.
I think we can show what we've done we've made a lot of movement in the last 3 years with the prior $300,000. And of course, MDL at that time, we contributed 80,000, but we stepped up to 100,000. We did 80,000 a year. Marshfield Development League did. And so we paid right out of, well, we've expensed more than $250,000 because we've paid some additional expenses. We paid to have survey and environmental study on the Condra Van Diglen land. And so we've invested $250,000 in it, where the city has invested 300,000. But anyway. Any other questions?
Alderman Cunningham?
Well, it's just like Stacy's saying, we just came, three of us just came on the board. We've heard about this before, but we have not seen anything. I think that's what a lot of our concern is. And so we need more information.
Okay.
What's taking place. I do anyway. I mean, if we can get more industry in here, that's great. More housing, I'm all for it. But I'd like to see some.
We've also got someone we're kind of looking at trying to get a good restaurant here too.
We need that. And I don't remember you without gray hair, so it's been a long time.
Okay, so for the order of number 4 here, would we like to table the bill?
Weeks or the next meeting.
Mhm.
I think so.
Okay, so we can table the bill. And would we like another presentation by Grow?
I think so. I mean,
Yeah, if they got
if
something,
they would like to, that'd be great.
give us more information.
Okay,
What other information are you looking?
Well, what's gone on in the last 3 years? I don't know what you guys done. I really don't,
Oh, okay.
and that's, John said about Van Diglen, that's the first I've heard about it. So
Which I knew that was going. I did know that was going.
you got property out there. So you probably
Yeah.
know.
Which, I mean, I know you're looking for industry, but it backs up to that housing development, which I don't know how that, which I'm sure you guys have looked into that, and I'm sure you already know, but I know you've been working on that for a while, and I know that that's came through, but I think that's what he's saying, like just some of the stepping stones that you've got through and what you kind of see coming up in the next year and or what your hopes are and what
Like Stacy said, we got a lot of people asking us. I like to know the answer before they ask me.
all right.
Be able to say. Bro Marshfield brought in this and it was this much this, and this is your return. Because then I can justify it as an investment.
Part of it is that we have to build the foundation before you can build a house. And a lot of it, we've been building the foundation, but we'll address that in our next meeting.
Okay, any other questions or comments? We're going to table this one and we'll come back to it. Okay. Thank you guys very, very much. All right, I'm now going to put you in reverse back to unfinished business. If you'll back up to the water tower contract, which is, you'll see a general service agreement in your packet. And Sam, you've got this one?
Yeah.
Okay.
We solicited for bids for this. We got 3 back. We brought those back to you guys at the last meeting. You guys approved the low bidder. This is the contract basically awarding that. And so all the documentation's there. Paul's reviewed the contract. Again, this is a company out of Florida. I've never dealt with them, never heard of them, but I also don't have any reason to not recommend the approval. So all the paperwork seems to be in order. And if you recall, some of the other companies were several months out and it was going to be maybe even next summer. I believe, I meant to ask Richard this today, but I believe that this company here will be here once this is signed. I think they'll be here within the next couple months.
Any questions or comments for mom? For mom over here? Hey, I'm the one who asked for it to be recorded.
You get child support?
Might be a first.
All right, bill number 2021-34, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to sign a contract between the city of Marshfield, Missouri and Onyx Blasting and Coating LLC.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please. Lynn?
Aye.
Boggs?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
Cunningham?
Aye.
Second reading, bill number 2021-34, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to sign a contract between the city of Marshfield, Missouri and Onyx Blasting and Coating LLC.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Quinn.
Aye.
Boggs.
Aye.
Lee. Aye. Cunningham.
Aye.
Thank you. Next up is leaf dump excavation improvements bid award. Sam?
I see Jay-Z breathing heavy. We're not talking about operations tonight. I'm still working through that.
I got
But,
these all over the yard.
but if we want to get, if we do want to get this thing open and going, the work has to be done. So we held a pre-construction meeting, which was mandatory to be at because they're without paying a firm to put all the specifications in there and slopes and this and that. It was mandatory for the bidders to be there. We only actually, we thought we had 4 or 5 lined up to be there. 2 of them showed up. We walked through the process. They were given this bid sheet. Came right down to the wire and one of them actually missed the deadline by just a few minutes, which actually kicks them out of the running for this. But it was not a sealed bid process. Normally we would have just sent that back. They were actually just a couple $100 higher. I think maybe $250 higher. So I do think that this is a competitive bid. I've ran the numbers on our end. We're not capable of doing the work in-house with our current equipment. We could rent it. But I think I talked to you guys about this before. Our guys don't have the time. Be really tough. I've also ran the numbers on the rock and the placement of the rock. They're in the ballpark of that. I personally feel like this is, if this is the direction we want to go and this is where we want to put this, but I think that this is a fair cost to do so. This is an unbudgeted expense, so it would come out of cash. And it would probably come out, it would most likely need to come out of unallocated cash out of the general fund. But I would recommend the approval of the low bid or the one qualified bid from Russ Contracting for this total, and I didn't total it up here, the 5,800 and the 11,551.50.
I am just apparently reading the entire document, so I'll apologize for that up front, but do we have any conflict of interest on this one?
I don't know what it would be
Okay,
as far as, so I'll explain probably why you're asking as far as the Russ. So this is a totally separate, he is not, it's a brother to somebody that we.
but it's not the employee.
But it is not the employee. and he has
That's all we
nothing
needed
do
to
with
know,
this.
not the employee. It's
He-
thank you.
So we have Brandon Russ works for us. His brother's name is Tell. He just started his own excavation company and we received a bid from Tell and we received the bid that was late was from Gruder Excavation. So.
Okay.
Yeah, totally separate.
Thank you for that clarification.
And the total is $17,351.50.
I do.
Question.
Oh, yes.
Sorry. Do you want to move forward with that if we are going to maybe do something different, or is this the only option still we have on the table?
I mean, so
Is this the best option? on
If-
the table?
I personally think this is the only option on the table. I really do, unless we want to look at continuing to allow it where it's at and then contract hauling out or possibly contract cleaning that up every once in a while, which I don't think that's a good option either because the park has already identified that that property is being usable for something else. And I think everybody in this room has kind of acknowledged that that's probably not the best place for it. Not going to say that this is the absolute best place for it, but it is controllable. It is manageable out here where we're putting it.
Okay.
So
it is the best option.
I think it is the best option. And I will say the $11,551 for the road work that's going in there. We do use the property for other things. It's not just a waste of money. It's obviously not a waste of money, but it's not just money being spent. Doug's been out there. That road's very narrow. It's rough. And so we probably need to do some stuff to clean that up anyway, just for our own passage. But the primary function of this is going to be for the leaf dump.
Yep.
So,
Okay. Do we have a motion?
Make a motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, we will now skip down in new business to number 5. Robbie, you want to walk us through this one?
Yes, so I did not get pictures, but I'll get some pictures, but so getting off the highway where the Marshfield sign is, with the way that they need to fence off that lift station, you won't be able to see the Marshfield sign until you get to the
Right on.
Green County or I guess it's the county sign. It says Marshfield. And I'll take some pictures so that I can present them next meeting. So you guys can see what that would kind of look like as far as where you won't be able to see it until here. But Richard was checking on some fencing to put around it that would look nice. And then maybe we could look at maybe even putting something on there like we thought about like the girls' championships or something like that. I think they used to have the signs, maybe putting that on the side to decorate up so it kind of. But I'll try to get some pictures and a little bit more drawing type thing where you guys can visually see something. But I think it is important that we get that fenced off because there's a lot of information stuff in there that needs to be protected.
So is it safe for me to say that goes back into the future agenda items?
Yes, for next.
Okay,
Sorry.
nope, that works.
So you're saying the fencing would block the sign?
The fencing is going to block the sign, so even though it's 6 foot tall, it's going to block that lower portion. And so I'll try to get.
Any way to raise the sign?
I think the sign could be potentially raised. It's going to catch a lot of wind and it might be,
Isn't it brick?
it is.
Outside.
It's got brick columns. It's
Yeah.
got those two brick columns on it. It-
I mean, it wouldn't totally cover it up, but
Right.
it's gonna.
You would,
obstruct the
until
view.
you're, you won't see it until you're right on
Right.
it.
I'll try to get some pictures, get some good drawings where you guys can actually visualize like what it looks like there and so that you're not just guessing at it. But I'll try to get some pictures. Maybe even if I get them early to Sam, then he can email them out or something.
Of course, if you really think about it, the first welcome to Marshfield sign you see coming that way on I-44 is not our sign, it's the silo.
Right. The silo with the,
Yeah, at the hub, with the Hubble CFC, yeah.
which they just did that. How long ago they did it? Not
A month ago.
3 months ago. Yeah. Yeah.
So. Okay, so we'll put that back on the agenda. The next item is a bill, but before I read that, Sam and Karen had something on this, or Sam?
Yeah, Karen can correct me where I'm wrong, but you guys will remember sometime back, we made some adjustments in the code to self-service storage units and requirements, and we actually pulled that out of being an allowed use for conditional use in an R3. And so we made that adjustment to the code in this section dealing with storage units. But then the way our code is set up is that it may not refer to another section of the code, but there's another section of the code. So if you were to go, like right now, if you were to go under just R3, if you were to look at what R3, the definition of it means and what is allowed, and then if you go into the conditional uses and special uses in this other section under R3, you would still find self-storage units. So we voted on the self-storage units to no longer allow them in R3, but there was another separate ordinance that was under an ordinance that put restrictions on there and put had had hip roofs and had hard surfacing in it.
We talked about the lighting.
The lighting, and so that was his own ordinance. Well, it didn't refer to this ordinance because this was the one dealing with R3. This is the ordinance that's actually dealing with R3, so it makes a change to remove it as a conditional use in R3.
Any questions on that?
Is it so clear?
Now you can see why whenever when we start talking about code, you have to cross these things, and especially you guys that sit on planning and zoning. You change this over here and you got to be really careful because it may not be all inclusive that deals with fences or signs. There's another part of the code that talks about parking. So when we change parking, then you got to go back in and change all the other stuff, which will be coming to you shortly. But it's not simple.
Okay. Any questions before I read the bill?
Yes.
Do we understand what we're doing? Okay, just wanted to make sure. Bill number 2021-36, an ordinance amending section 405.030 subsection C of the Marshfield City Code, being a section regulating the issuance of conditional uses in R3 multifamily residence district.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Aye.
Boggs.
Aye.
Lee. Aye. Cunningham.
Aye.
Second reading, bill number 2021-36, an ordinance amending section 405.030 subsection C of the Marshfield City Code, being a section regulating the issuance of conditional uses in R3 multifamily residence district.
Second.
Roll call, please. Quinn,
Aye.
Boggs.
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Cunningham.
Aye.
Thank you all. Sam, you're back up with water engineering services.
So through all the projects that we've been through, city staff saw the need to make an adjustment with our on-call services for water engineering. So that is a professional service, so it requires us to go through an RFQ process. It requires us to go through a series of interviews to keep score on those interviews. And then it requires you all to approve someone for that. And then we can enter into negotiations on cost and fees. We had the interviews. Robbie actually sat in on there with Richard and Mark and I. Really had some really good interviews. Obviously, there were some that stood out. I'm gonna ask the board to do something a little bit different than I've done in the past. And I've talked to Paul about this, and this is not uncommon for other cities to do this, but you see the scoring and the ranking there. And so what I'm gonna ask the board is to actually take and approve the top two in that order. So basically what that does is that what staff is recommending is that based on the scores, based on the interviews, based on the qualifications, that we recommend that you all approve Great River Engineering as our primary on-call contract for engineering services. But the backside of that is we're also going to ask you to basically approve Toth and Associates as a backup, so that if we run into a situation where things aren't going smooth, or if we have large projects, or if we throw a lot of work on the Great River and we feel like there's a need to go to have another engineering firm do some stuff, which we have ran into, or if we need a second opinion, or if we run into something and we need to change gears in a hurry, which can happen, especially when you're talking about development and projects. I've talked to Paul. He had no issues with this whatsoever. So what we would do is if you guys take staff recommendation, we would enter into negotiations with Great River, which we're already under contract with them for some other on-call services. I would bring that back to you, then we would get under contract with them. And then if the need arose, then we could always go to Toth and Associates and do the negotiations on that contract as well. We wouldn't do the negotiations with them until we needed to. That way you're, and when I talked to Paul, he said that way you're supposed to do this off of qualification based. That way, if you negotiate the prices and this one's cheaper than this one, you've negated the whole reason of doing the RFQ, and now you're doing it based off the price, which you're not supposed to do. So that would be our recommendation, is that you approve, or that you award our on-call water engineering to Great River, and with Toth and Associates as a secondary.
Absolutely. And this isn't uncommon for professional services. When, we're not Great River's only client, right? So when they reach their capacity and we have something really big that comes up, we got to have somebody. And if they're 6 months out, well, then our whole project is delayed, right? So no, this is a very good idea. And thank you for bringing it to the table. It's definitely, it's good to have a backup plan, right? And that's kind of what this is. This is.
And
a backup
MoDOT
plan.
does this too. So like
Yeah.
when we do an LPA project, so a local public agency project, they have an on-call list that they have certified. I mean, they have a list of certified engineering firms that they will allow to be used. If they're not on that list, I mean, I think you'd have to be crazy not to use somebody on that list. But if they're not on that list, you have to jump through all the hoops. But if they're on that pre-qualified list, it just speeds it up exponentially.
One of the things I liked on that too is that you never know if something would happen. Like, we do that based off the interviews. You never know if something will happen to that person
Mhm.
or they move to another company. And so I think having it pre-set up for the second is awesome.
Okay, with that, I am looking for a motion.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you very much. Last item on the agenda is presentation of employee benefits, costs, and policies. You got something printed for them? Okay. Yeah. I got plenty all that. Always do. All right. So this spreadsheet was put together by city staff to give us an idea, and I'm going to add, like I said, I'm going to add some things that aren't on your specific spreadsheet as well. But in the very top, what we have is an example of wages and retirement. So if a person was paid $35,000 annually, the payroll taxes that we are responsible for are the 26,750 approximately. Okay, that's the payroll taxes. The next portion of that will be retirement. Now, we are a loggers retirement system. Loggers is one of the better governmental retirement systems out there. Not quite Mosier's, but darn close, and definitely a few steps up from CERF. So it's a great option for our employees. It does require the employees to contribute. Is that correct? I think it's 4%.
4%.
Yeah, so the employees do contribute to their retirement plan as well. However, we also contribute to the plan. And so you can see the breakdown there. Now, it is different in the police department from other employees, but you can see a breakdown. So if an employee is making $35,000 a year, then depending on which department they work for, that is the contribution that we are making to their retirement plan per year. And then down on the bottom row is what the employee is putting in per year. Any questions on retirement plans? Okay. The next type of benefit that we offer is, of course, various types of leave. So vacation time currently in your first 6 months of employment, you receive 4 hours per month of leave. From there on after, you earn 8 hours per month. Now, here's where I said I was going to ad lib. In all the cities and other governments that I've worked with and in, generally this particular benefit has a cap. It says you can gain all the time you want up to this, and then you're kind of at a use it or lose it type thing. So there are many people that work at the university, for example, that are almost always gone most of the month of October because they're going to lose their leave, right? That is something that we do not have. Auditors look at that as a liability. So the amount of leave that our employees carry behind them is a liability, and that's looked on our auditor spreadsheet. He looks at it every year. Never had any concerns about it that I know of. Yeah, so our liability isn't excessive, and he's putting that. He puts. We'll also talk about sick time, so there's some of that in there, and that's also our comp time. So it's all rolled in together. It's put on our audited spreadsheet, and he's looking at that every single year. Okay, so any questions on vacation time?
Sick time accumulates.
Sick time does accumulate at 8 hours per month, and it does not have a cap, which is typical. So sick time normally doesn't have a cap. The thing that's not typical is that our employee manual currently says that when you leave, you're paid out 25% of the banked hours. Now, I've never seen that before. We are unique in that, but that is a benefit that we are currently offering.
And there is no cap on sick leave either.
No.
There is cap on vacation.
There is a cap on vacation?
Yes, there
Okay,
is.
thank you for correcting me.
What's the cap
24 days.
24 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is what you can carry over.
from year to year? Like you can never have more than
24 days. Thank you for correcting me.
On the sick, is it paid out regardless of when you leave? Or is that just if you retire from the city?
It's
No, it's-
paid out regardless of when or why you leave.
and it's 25% of the total?
So other retirement systems offer an ability where you can put your sick leave into the retirement system and gain additional credit, right, for your length of service, which goes into that calculation. Does loggers?
I don't think they allow that.
I don't think they did either. I know it's something that Mosier's does
But you
and a
don't
couple
pay,
of the others.
but you don't pay loggers on the final payout either. You know what I'm saying? So there's not an additional fee like what you see off these salaries above. You don't pay
You only pay loggers off your salary.
Right.
Right. So
Have you seen issues with people trying to burn sick leave before they leave just to, I mean, have you guys ever been hung in a situation with that where it's,
No, not really. I mean,
Most guys just have the same time.
they do. And so, I mean, most
They
of the
bank.
time, most of the time you can see the writing on the wall when people are using that stuff.
Yeah.
No, not really. We've really been, I mean, we've been pretty fortunate, but I mean, we keep a pretty close eye on it though.
Mhm.
We've allowed people to burn it down because it's in our best interest for employment, and for their services for certain things, but
And so even if somebody claimed FMLA, they're going to have the opportunity to actually, they have to burn that sick leave in through that process. So if we ever had an employee that entered some sort of family medical issue, that's the reason that time accumulates at the rate it does. And that there's no cap. And I've never seen a cap on sick leave. You're capped? Okay. School district's capped
we were at City Utilities, they paid you back after,
after a certain point.
I think we could, 1,080 hours, after 1,080 hours, they bought it back at 50%.
Okay.
But you know, it took years to get
Yeah,
that.
to get there.
We just lose it. Just use it or lose it.
Really?
I've heard several, like what you're talking about, Robbie, and this is a topic of conversation that comes up with other cities and stuff we've talked about. And I've heard some that use it or lose it, but I've, like MoDOT out here, that's the way they are. They can accumulate all they want to over their career, and then they put it towards their retirement.
Yes.
Instead of retiring at 60, if they had enough time, they could retire. If they had enough time on the board to get 2 years, then they could retire at 58.
Yeah.
So,
Post
Technically,
office.
they're on. Sick leave.
right. What did you start to say, Robbie?
My father-in-law did that at the post office. He left a 1.5 years early and drew a check for a 1.5 years and then started his.
Probably won't get
Retirement.
that too.
Right.
That's some fluke.
That's some flu. Okay, another type of leave that is offered is compensatory leave. This is instead of paying out overtime at 1.5 your rate, we bank leave hours at 1.5 the hours that you work. So you have to work a full 40 hours within the week. And then above that, that amount is taken times 1.5, and that's the amount that accumulates. That is also a liability. They do keep a pretty good eye on it. Some people have quite a little balance, and it's seasonal, to be honest with you. When the road projects really get to going, you'll see all the street guys shoot up. And then when hunting season comes in, generally you see it come back down. Karen, you can kind of monitor hers with how long our meetings went or what we asked extra, because I always know when it's coming. And because she's putting in those extra hours in order to get what we've asked at the board meetings, right? So a lot of it is seasonal parks, especially. They may have some right at the first of the season when they're getting the pool going and all of that stuff is happening all at the same time. They'll have a little comp time. And then as a general rule, they burn it off. So for the most part, our employees always flex that. So if they can, if Karen could just take off tomorrow and never come in on a Friday, she would, but that's just not always an opportunity, right? And so that's the reason we end up with a compensatory leave. Any questions on it? We also have a bereavement leave policy. It is 3 consecutive days for specifically listed members of the family. Now, you've heard me talk about, we want to do some changes within this. 2 of the things that our policy doesn't specifically mention, and I think we need to in order to just give coverage, is it doesn't include step and half. We have so many blended families within our community. I think it's worth adding step, whatever, and half, whatever's in there. Because you do end up with some questions. I know I've ended up there. So the state of Missouri takes a very stringent biological approach to funeral leave. I have many steps in my family. Take a pick. I am actually the only child and the youngest of 13. I'm not going to explain that now. But with that, a lot of times when I leave a family member, I have to take vacation. So this would open up some of that flexibility.
How many times can they take bereavement in a year?
There's generally no limit.
Really?
Do you guys have a limit?
Absolutely.
Really?
Wow.
1 3-day leave. That's it.
Wow.
That's one of
We
those
don't have
areas that
that.
I've always thought, like, you know, if it's family, step half, whatever.
If family's
No, we
family,
do
right?
have that,
That's what I
but
always thought.
no, we get 3 bereavement days. a year.
Okay.
Wow.
Once you burn them in a school year, then you
If you
can,
lose two direct family members, you have to take your own time for that.
you're after
Oh,
that,
wow.
you eat up your personal days, which we get 3 of them,
Wow.
and then it rolls over. You better have a lot of sick time.
Wow.
And those are capped. We cannot accumulate past a certain
Right.
point.
No, I'm definitely fortunate in
Yeah,
mine.
if
I've
you've had
had
a
3
bad year.
close losses
burn a
in a
lot.
year, and all 3 weeks it is.
Yeah.
So, there are other types of leave that are described, they're prescribed by law. These are your jury leaves, your military leaves, your domestic violence is a brand new one that just passed. And so we have all of those leaves too, because by law, we have to have those. Right, so I don't feel the need to review those. Is that okay? Okay.
So you can take a day to abuse somebody?
No. We're gonna skip that comment. Okay, next up is health insurance. So that is back on your spreadsheet here. So what you're gonna see is the total cost, and this is for a year, the annual cost, and then the employee's cost, okay? So it depends on the type of plan the employee chooses, how much they pay and how much we pay. And you can see that broken out here. Are there, you can also see the monthly out to the side. I don't think I need to add to that conversation unless you have any questions.
Has the city always had it set up like that? I thought it used to be family was, all family was
Used to be
covered.
100%
Okay.
covered.
When
And I
did you
don't know,
guys-
when did that change?
Not too long. Been 6 years ago,
Okay,
probably, I'm guessing.
about 6 years ago?
I don't know. Is that right?
2014. What did you, 2000?
6 or 8 years ago, something like that.
And I'm assuming family, that includes the employee. That is not spouse and children. That
Correct.
is-
That would be like my husband, myself, and my 2 children, family coverage. The household.
That's similar how we had the city utilities.
So I have much the same. I mean, I could do a comparison, but I don't have it with me. For Missouri State, I do have an employee cost to mine, but I'm able to do certain health initiatives to reduce that to 0 for my particular portion of that. So like mine is $30 or $50 a month. If I get my flu vaccine, that's worth so much. If I get this, anyway, we have a shopping list. As long as you do 3 things off of it, it waives your premium. But other than that, I have a similar structure. And when I worked for the state, I had a similar structure as well. I can tell you that the current, help me out here, the current health insurance is a grandfathered policy that existed before the Obamacare stuff. And so as long as it exists and it continues to renew, we are actually in a better plan than any other plan we could possibly get. But somehow we have to conform to what we have been doing. Help me out here. This is where I get,
You can only make certain adjustments within that plan. You can't, the changes that you all can make are very, very minor before it kicks us out of that plan. And then it changes the whole thing. So if we make any modifications to that plan, any significant, it makes that not available, and then it can never get picked back.
so I know we can't mess with like deductible, and we can't mess with copay, and we can't mess with coverages, and like we can't touch any of that. And I do not know what we can do with rate structure at all. But I do know that every year, and he'll come back in November.
We should get prices back, probably, he estimates mid-October to end
Okay.
October, but he shops our our current plan versus Affordable Care Act plan
Mhm.
versus everything else. It says whatever he can do, but every year he's like, man, you should jump, your board should jump on this. And I know Champ used to sit on the board and he was a health, he was an insurance guy and he's like, man, it's a yes, we got to do it, right? And so we've been very fortunate. The percentage that it's went up over the years has been pretty minor in comparison to every other insurance there is.
Yeah, so we really do have quite the benefit in this. The next thing you see in here is the life and accidental death and dismemberment insurance. This is paid by the city for our employees. That is also typical from my experiences in working government.
What's the family one? The 5,000 life insurance family, I mean, I know the 75,000 is for the employee. What's the?
I think it's for a family. I think if you lose a family member, does that know what that policy is for?
I think so. I think it's,
Oh, so it'd be spouse, or if you lose
Or
a spouse or
child.
kid, or,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And the big policy is the actual employees policy.
Yeah. 75's on the actual employee. We do workman's compensation insurance. That is also paid by the city. We have MedPay. MedPay is a cafeteria plan. It is optional if the employee wants to contribute. If the employee wants to contribute, the city pays the cost. So that is a little bit different than what I've seen in other, but you can see what the cost is. The city also offers all its employees dental, vision, supplemental insurance, deferred comps, all of that, but the city doesn't pay for any of that. That's all on the employee's expense. There are some clothing licensure stuff. I'm going to pull up this email from Sam so that I get it right. So we do provide uniforms to our outside employees. And of course, we purchase uniforms for our police officers. And then City Hall personnel get a shirt or something per year that they can wear as well. You can see Rick's got a shirt that's a City of Marshfield shirt there. Karen, is yours? Okay, so yeah, a City of Marshfield shirt, much like, I'm wearing one too. So they do get, some shirts. And then they do licenses and memberships for various employees, and really it's across the board, as long as it benefits the city in their position. So Monica and I are in AGA, and I'm sure you're in others as well, but Karen is in, I always get this one wrong, the Missouri clerks. Let's just leave it there. Yeah.
Say the acronym. I do.
No. MOCCFOA. Why they use all
That's
the O's and the
that's the short
U's?
one though, isn't it? That's the short one, yeah.
Oh, yeah, then you add the acronyms for each region. But anyway, they also pay for continued professional development. So we cover, like AGA meetings, still $10, $15 a month. And yeah, we get lunch, but we also earn an hour CPE. So in our profession, we have to have 40 hours per year of CPE in order to, one, to stay current, but two, in order to hold our licensure. So the city pays for that. I'm sure there's something similar for your meetings. So there's a fee. You get continuing professional development, and even Rick's was going through licensure on certain codes, weren't you? Yeah.
They're good for 3 years, and you have to have like 20 CEUs in that 3-year period to maintain. So
Okay, so all of those types of things, that's an additional benefit that, because they take their license with them, we don't get to keep it, right? So that is also a benefit. And I think that's pretty much it there. We do have, if you look through here, we do have a policy that says we pay for protective eyewear if it's prescription. Sam, you said there's been like
There's
one
only been
ever.
one time that I know of that we've done that. Can you recall? I mean, we had several one time that did it, but that's not something that comes up very often. I can only remember it being one time, and there was 5 or 6 employees that that somebody brought it up and said, hey, we have a policy about this. I didn't know. It was just when I said, oh, yeah, we do. So we did it, but there's been one time I mean, I'm sure that there may have been more or less, but I can only think
Yeah.
of one time that we did it.
So it's not a big cost thing, but if you did have glasses and needed safety glasses, then the city helps or pays for. Nope, 100% pays for. And the other benefit that we offer is holidays. We have 11 paid holidays now. And I'm going to go ahead and interject this. There is a new holiday that was passed by the federal government. So I'd like to add a 12th holiday this year, which is Juneteenth. We'll get to that at another point, but so that's kind of our list of benefits that are offered to our employees at this point. One thing that I did notice that wasn't in this package that I do have at MSU, and our employee base uses it a lot, is an EAP program. I know what it costs Missouri State, but we have a lot of employees. So it might be kind of interesting if we want to look at what additional benefits we could provide. An EAP program might be kind of nice.
What is it?
So it's an employee assistance program. It gives employees access to financial advisors, legal advisors, counselors, gives them some telehealth options. It would open up just a basic array of general services that if they needed to reach out and just ask a question or just work through something that you could do in, I think mine pays for up to 6 sessions with a licensed counselor. If any of that existed, they have a resource that's already been paid for. And that's not something that I pay for, but it is something I've utilized.
I see people under CureLink and Magellan around here a lot
Okay,
under EAP.
I think we get 4 sessions and then we do have, starting this year, I think we get 4 sessions with the counselor and there's a new telehealth system
right.
and we pay no copay and it's for us or a dependent.
Exactly. And so our health plan is so specific that I think we're kind of locked in there, but telehealth is an area that has really expanded, especially because of COVID. And I think that is a benefit that we could offer our employees that might put us above or at least matching with what our competitors are doing.
And it wouldn't really count as far as changing the current health plan.
No,
we're at.
no, it would be
It's a
us
separate
looking
entity.
for a supplement
Right.
to provide a new benefit. So on top of what they're getting, and yes, I'm going to ask you to add a holiday, then this would be a new benefit that we could provide that might be really useful to some of our employees.
I mean, and our telehealth it has some restrictions. I mean, it's not,
Oh, no,
it
no.
is strep and, it's a very precise list that they can deal with,
I
but
used it for my husband's bee sting the other day.
it keeps us at work.
Is there,
You
a-
wave it in front of the camera and he's like, yeah, extra Benadryl.
is there a way that we can do a survey and see what the employees feel like that they're missing out on, that they, you know what I mean? Because I wonder if we could pinpoint more what they really need other than us. I mean, like, I think a lot of those deals that you're talking about, like counseling sessions are really great because somebody may not want to spend the money when they could benefit from that. And if it's just a system that's provided, they're more likely to utilize it when they need it. But I'm just wondering what. if there's
I
a
can
way-
probably put together an anonymous survey.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed to that. I mean, I'll just be very transparent when we talk about benefits. Everybody, every city employee gets scared to death. Well, no, not even that. No, they get, it's very touchy and it gets scary because anytime it's brought up, I will tell you, I've been here for a very long time. This is the only time we've ever talked about adding any kind of
and not
benefit.
take
It's
away.
always, oh my gosh, what are they gonna take away? Because that's where it's been. And so I don't know, because I've never had that kind of conversation, because it's always been,
So we could definitely spin up a Microsoft
Yeah.
Forms survey and send it out completely anonymously.
Sure.
As long as we don't send it from the platform, if we copy the link and then just send it out to the listserv. As they answer, there is absolutely no way to go back and figure out whose is whose. I've tried. I use it at the university. Yeah, we could come up with a benefit survey and at least gauge our employees' preferences, interests, and satisfaction with the current and maybe even what we could add. And then again, we're going to have to look at costs and all of that. This is not saying we will add, but if we could, we might be interested.
It's been a lot of years ago, but I had Aflac as a supplementary. That was awesome. I mean, they would.
I did too, yeah.
Oh, that was awesome.
We
And-
do,
We have that as an option for supplemental.
it's a supplemental in the list of what you can pay for.
Is it Aflac? Don't we have Aflac for, isn't that part of what they provide or is it not?
No,
No, it's.
okay.
No, it's not. I'm sorry.
And then.
So that would be another thing we could ask.
One of the things we did over at the health department was when you test positive and you're quarantined, so you mandatorily are off of work, we stopped taking that off of their vacation or their sick time. No, correction, not the sick time. Sick time would still count until they ran out of that, but it wouldn't come off of their vacation time. And that way, I've planned in December to go to somewhere in June, and I only have so many days.
Oh, I feel
You know,
that one.
There wasn't paid time off, but it was not counted against them either.
Some companies, and I didn't know if it's a government thing, some of them were like paying their employees while they were off. I thought it was.
So that was a Trump,
Okay.
that was in the original executive order. That was a separate policy and that expired
Okay.
December of last year. Is that right? Yeah, because we had it and then it expired at the same time. The only thing I would ask is if it applies to COVID, does that also apply to, I had the flu and was out for 2 weeks, or I had a heart attack and I was out and I still want to keep my vacation? I mean,
The thing about the.
How do we play with
quarantine is
that?
You can be quarantined and not even be positive. You know, your kids comes up with a positive and so you're a close contact, so you could spend a lot of time.
right.
That first year. So, I mean, I was at home, locked down, couldn't go nowhere.
Yeah,
And
a
that's-
number of our employees can work from home, but police officers can't.
Right,
They don't get that option.
and sometimes they
You
can't stay 6
cannot
feet
remote
apart.
work. No, they can't be 6 feet away from most of the people they deal with. So all good things we can put on the table, right? And we can chew on more. Anybody else have any other ideas? Okay. I will work on something like this and run it through Sam and maybe bring it back to you to kind of review what the questions are and what you think before we send this out. Does that work?
Awesome.
All right, and yes, you will see Juneteenth again from me later on. So future agenda items. So in partnership with this one, you had asked about the pay ranges. I've gotten those buttoned down. I've sent them over to Sam. Sam is just going through and making sure that second set of eyes.
In his free time?
Yeah, of course. He's got tons of it. Don't you know that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's going through and looking at it before we present it, because I definitely want to make sure that we've thought through this from both directions, right? And so hopefully you will have that at the next meeting. I also have carried over the grow contract to the next meeting and the lift station to the next meeting. And then I'm going to add the benefit survey to the next meeting. What else might you have for us?
Any news on the appraisal yet?
They've been here.
They have,
They've been
so
here.
they're working the
Yep.
numbers and
They've been
trying to
here.
get
and
comps and all that.
They've been here and I sent them our rental agreements. So they're working their way through that stuff. So it is progressing. I have not heard back.
At our next meeting, can we introduce our new employee? At our next meeting, could we introduce our new employee?
Could be here.
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay. And kind of, that'll give us an opportunity to discuss what those items are. I do think I will be asking for a special work session. We have a whole lot of things that we've kind of volleyed up as, hey, and we're not the only ones that have done it. The park board has things they've put up that they need done, and the cemetery boards put up things that they need done. And we're at the point where we'd really like to get your input on what the priorities look like and where we want to start before we just dump everything on our new employee and say good luck, right? So I'm very certain this individual is used to multitasking, but I want to set those expectations, not just for the new employee, but for ourselves as to what order we want to see things come back.
What about the incentive deal? Incentive, were we gonna do like a board or something for like incentive program for new business type stuff?
Oh, for the economic development policy, the one
I
that Matt
think-
came and talked about.
Yes, I think that's.
So we can bring it back, but I can tell you that I submitted, I put that out to a couple different companies, and if anybody has anybody else that they want me to send it to directly, please let me know. But those are out for proposal right now.
And we're waiting for those to come back. So once they come back, we can pick one, and then we get to work.
I can't remember the date that you saw. I don't know. if
It was
they-
this week.
They may be back for your next meeting. I don't know.
Yeah.
We got a proposal from Matt when he was here. It exceeded the threshold where I felt comfortable doing anything. And so we went the proposal route. And so now we'll see what proposals we'll get back. So I'm
But we can only
Very
come up with
confident.
one other name. So if you can come up with other names,
very confident that we'll have to
please
do
do
that.
that.
But I don't know anybody else. My pockets only go so deep in those contacts. So
All right. Anything else? I will take a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
Sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.